people like you that have been there from the onset or from the very beginning, when you look at places like what Dubai and a few other countries that started with us have done with technology, would you say you are excited?
I'm excited, yes. I would say, am I disappointed about where we are currently? Of course I'm disappointed. I should be disappointed because I am living in the digital economy and it isn't manifest in Nigeria as at now. So yes, I'm disappointed about being that. But we need to understand as well that I joined the industry, I was already there, and I've tried to do my own parts to help it grow, and others will come after us and help to push it even further. But it's difficult to sit here and imagine that we can do what is the result of centuries of development.
Are we not joking with the opportunities we have today? For example, Kenya is struggling, they have lesser population, but they are struggling with us in terms of inflows of capital into various tech ecosystem or tech projects. Are you sure that we're not wasting our opportunities?
I think if you look at the quantum of investments in the tech sector and the growth of the tech sector, Kenya is not competing with Nigeria in truth. It has a very attractive story, just like Ghana, but at the end of the day, sub-Saharan Africa is going to pivot around countries, certain countries that by reason of their demographics and other such factors are pivotal. You can't do away with Nigeria, you can't do away with the Cote d'Ivoire, you can't do away with an Egypt, you can't do away with Kenya, you can't do away with Angola. These are countries that are pivotal to Africa's success. And of all these countries, and I should add Ethiopia, clearly the most exciting is Nigeria, and it will continue to be the most exciting because of a number of factors which are unique to us. And yes, we haven't gotten everything right, or a lot of things right in terms of our approach to technology and the growth of that industry, but let's look at the positive things. There's a lot of talk about our population, for instance, at 184 million people, but it's counterbalanced by the fact that we have less than 1% of that population in tertiary education. And if you discount further, you dig down a little bit further, and you say, okay, so how many of those are in the STEM-related courses? You're probably going to end up with about 30% of that number. So essentially 1.4 million people in schools, in all 126 universities, and 30% of that, which is probably about 1.4, maybe about 4 million of those, 400,000 of those in STEM courses. The Haodong province in China produces 450,000 graduates in business studies alone per annum. The Indian education system has 18 million students in university. So there are things that have to be done, and clearly if we're able to accelerate that, we would probably create also a parallel acceleration in the ICT industry.
In your perspective, the educational sector has to change?
If you're in school and you haven't been able to dissect a frog and see in situ what actually veins are, you don't get excited about science. So there's a lot of stuff that we have to do in terms of that. So when we look at these kind of countries, and you always mention, people mention UAE as an example. There are about 900,000, a quarter of the population of the UAE is made up of Emiratis. The rest of the population is a migrant population. So you've moved three-quarters of your population is coming from countries and environments that are technologically adept. And then they're coming into your place, and your job is to create the infrastructure for them to now start to build on top of that. Clearly, the acceleration will be faster.
So in our case, do we have the infrastructure?
I think we really do have the basics for the acceleration. One way to look at it, and an excellent way, is perhaps on the submarine cables. So from 2001 to 2010, Nigeria and the rest of Africa was serviced by one cable, SAT3. And SAT3 was delivering about 40 gig of connectivity to Nigeria. Every single thing, ATMs, the banks, the entire thing was powered by that 40 gig. Between the year 2010 and 2016, we've gone from 40 gig to approximately 19 terabytes of capacity. And it's lying in submarine cables on the ocean. Well over approximately $2.4 billion has been invested in submarine cables in Africa that affect Nigeria directly. That's a lot of money. Obviously, there's going to be a process of moving that bandwidth from the coast up country by laying terrestrial cables, and technology is also going to make that a little bit easier. So I'm optimistic.
And the security part?
Well, that's another story, right? Because it was recently the hack that just brought down a part of the internet was actually orchestrated through the Internet of Things. They were using devices, not just computers, but any connected device was being put together and used for this denial of service attack.
Are you sure we're ready for that?
We will get ready. We have no choice. Think about it. Today we talk about a $100 device. This was impossible.